Hello there fellow NPCs, I'm Scythe, and today we're getting back into the house in Fata Morgana, Requiem for Innocence. And we have just killed the Lord so that we can take over this city. So that Jacopo can be the new Lord, so that he can drain the blood of Morgana. But we're not quite there yet, we have to work our way up until then. But yeah, so let's explore more of the story. Let's go. When that faded night came to an end, the vast bright blue sky of morning greeted me. I looked up at the sky, standing in a manner that still reeked of blood, and Morgana filled my thoughts. If she were here now, what would she say to me? Congratulations? It was so unlikely I let out a little laugh. She would undoubtedly criticize me for seizing power through such a violent means. Her lips would twist into a scowl, and she would damn me to hell for the 1,000th time. She would tell me what I had done was extremely foolish, but perhaps she would also express some concern about my injuries. That was all in my own imagination, though. She would never be at my side again. We would never look up at the same sky again. I would never hear her sing again. My whole life was gone, a relic of the past. I would never be the same again, not without the girl I loved being a part of it. Whoa, part 1, Tales of Distant Past, the end. What? Ooh. Well, maybe I should have just played the last few moments there. Recollections of an Outlaw. What is this now? Is it? No, it's not a button. You're in the mood for something juicy, I say. Hate to break it to you, chum, but I ain't made of dough. I'd like a nice slab of meat as much as the next bloke, but I'm barely making do as is. We all are, in case you hadn't noticed. What, you're not hungry? You just want a juicy story to go with your drink? Then why didn't you just say that to begin with? Give me a sec. I think I got one you like. A few months back, me and a bunch of other blokes went out on a raid, this puny little village. They didn't do much trade, just living off what they could grow, so no one figured we'd make out with much. Grab a little grub, plow some of the girls, that was the best anyone was hoping for. Business as usual. We killed the guys, had some fun with the girls, then killed them too. Nothing too interesting, nothing real exciting up to that point. But that changed when I busted into this one house. There's a man, a woman, and a little girl maybe 5 years old. No siblings, just the girl. Real small family for a village like that. Doc comes at me to protect the girl, then Ma tries to block my way. No surprise there, I killed them both. Couple of unarmed farmers, easy as snapping a baby's neck. That left the kid. Wasn't like she could do nothing, so I didn't have to kill her. But you know how stupid things get. Crying like it's the end of the bloody world. So I figured I'd run her through before she starts howling on me, right? But get this. The kid smiled at me and said, "Where are you from, mister?" Couldn't believe my ears. "Girl, your parents were just killed by me, and I'm coming to kill you next." How the hell are you smiling, and how the hell are those the first words out of your tiny little mouth? Creeped me out, truth be told. So much I had lost all interest in killing her. So I dug around for anything worth taking and then went on my way. But this damn kid, I tried to leave and guess what? She fucking follows me. Doesn't want a revenge or nothing, just smiling like a fool. I'm a patient bloke, but this was beyond the pale. I yelled at the stupid thing, "Why the hell are you following me? Piss off!" And she gives me this confused look and says, "I'm bored. Everyone else stopped moving, so I have nothing else to do. But you're still moving, mister." My damn hair was spinning. She was maybe 5, yeah? I could understand her being a little stupid, but she should have known right from the wrong enough to know to be scared of me. You'd have been out of your mind to come out there trotting after the bastard who just off your parents. And I'm pretty sure that's exactly what her problem was. She wasn't right in the head. I tried to get her to piss off, but she wasn't hearing it. The other guys started talking, maybe we should just neck her, right? Then one guy says with a big smile, "Let's say we take bets on what it take to make the kid cry." So we did just that. We started playing some bets. Give her a good yell and she'll cry. Knock her around some and that'll do it. I say yank out a tooth or two. Rip off her nails one by one. And finally, blow her till she breaks. We went round and did everything we could think of, our absolute worst. Not like we ever pretended to be good people, but it ain't every day you see a bunch of grown men taking turns knocking the hell out of a 5-year-old girl. And hell, That by itself is a good drinking story if I ever heard one. But it keeps going. She never cried, no matter what we did. Not at once. Not the once. She would groan and twist her face when we hit her, so she did feel pain. But even that was only for a second. After that, she'd be back to smiling like an idiot. Tell you the truth, she seriously creeped me the fuck out. I wanted to end it just there. I wanted to just end it there and forget all about her. But the rest of the guys, they took a liking to her. Wanted to bring her back with us. I tried to talk him out of it, but one guy, he says, "What's the big deal? Ain't like we're adopting her. We'll have some fun. And when we get bored, she's gone." And it's pretty damn hard to argue against that. If I kept fighting, I'd look like I was trying to be the good guy or something. And so now we got this kid in the crew. First month or so she's with us, everyone's treating her like their plaything. But after a little bit, that starts to change. They start being kinda nice to her. Giving her extra food, letting her join in on conversations, that sort of thing. She still creeped me out, sure. The way she never stopped smiling. But she wasn't ugly or nothing. Could be kinda cute even. Once she started talking with us more, I realized something. None of us knew this damn kid's name. So I asked her, and get this. She says, "I'm me." Dead fucking serious. Now, like I've been saying, the girl always never made much sense. But this was on another level. So I press her, "No, what's your name?" But she just tilts her head and says the same thing. "I'm me." "So you're saying your name is me?" I ask, and she gives me this big fat grin and nods her head. Who the hell names their kid me? Her parents seem like a reasonable enough folks. They at least cared enough to try to protect her from me. They have run out of ideas trying to come up with a name for her. What? As I'm thinking to myself, I see there's something sewn into the bottom of her shirt. Looked like writing, but I can't read for shite, so I called over the only educated guy in the crew and had him look at it. Turns out, it was her name. Jaren. "Your name ain't me, it's Jaren," I say. And she lights up like a fucking village we just got through with. "Really? My name's Jaren? I never knew." I let out the biggest sigh of my life and say to her, "You're the dumbest broad I've ever known." About a month after we picked that girl up, we had a bit of trouble. There's this chubby bloke by the name of Marcos, and he's starting getting this thing for her, yeah? I ain't the one to get on a guy about what gets his rocks off, but a 5-year-old girl? That just ain't right. Marcos was kinda slow in the head, always at the back of the pack, and mostly useless when we went out on jobs. Only reason we kept him around was because he made a good pack mule. It was annoying as all hell besides. Always saluting and saying aye aye, like he thought we were a bunch of pirates or something. And he called everyone boss, because apparently that was the only form of respect he knew. Day after day, "Oh aye aye boss," and "I'm on it boss," and "let me massage your back boss," was enough to drive a man mad. And cause he was the first one to talk to her, Jaren started imitating him. So now we got 2 buffoons running around talking like that. Obnoxious as it was though, end of the day, that's all it was. But that changed when Marcus started getting real fond of the girl. Every little thing we did, he'd go around telling us to be nicer to her, yeah? But far as we saw it, compared to when we first took her in, we were treating her pretty damn well. Of course, that's all relative. A proper slave probably still got less help from their master than we gave the girl. But remember, we only brought her along so we could have fun. We never intended to make her part of the crew. But Marcus wasn't even having any of it. Son of a bitch actually snapped at us. "You'll pay if you don't stop right now, boss." He didn't want to fight, so we gave him a fight. The whole lot of us beat the ever-loving the hell out of him, stomped his face in so bad you couldn't even recognize the poor bastard anymore. But that wasn't enough for him. "His face is a big bloody mess," Marcus said. "I won't let you lay another finger on Jaren, boss." Tell you the truth, I didn't think he had the sack. Then, Jaren comes trotting in, seems she heard the ruckus and wanted to see what's up. Marcus' eyes went wide and he yelled, "Stay back!" But the girl, she just stood there, same old stupid smile on her face. Seeing her come in, one of the other guys smirks, plops his arms down on Marcus' back and he holds a knife up against his neck and says, "Hey Jaren, you like Marcus?" And with a big grin she answers, "Aye, boss." Through the swollen bruised up mess his face was, you could just barely make out as Marcus smiling. Next, the guy on his back says, "Then would it make you sad if we roughed him up a bit more?" "What do you mean rough him up?" "Cut off his fingers, scoop out his eyes, have a little fun." "Fun is fun. Why would that make me sad?" You hear that? I ain't making this up. The girl's still standing there smiling, and Marcus, he goes pale as a ghost. And he did it. He cut off his fingers. Jaren's still smiling. He gouged out his eyes, still smiling. And finally, he slit Marcus' throat. Even as the blood spraying right into her face, she never once stopped smiling. Just before he kicked off, Marcus looked like he was thrown into the deepest, darkest pit of despair. I've seen the hope drain from God knows how many men's eyes, but that wasn't on a whole other level. And as you can imagine, I wasn't the only one Jaren creeped out anymore. Everyone felt the same way. She was so messed up, we all thought we might start turning into her if we kept her around any longer. So next city we land on, we sell Jaren off. And we all lived happily ever after, minus one twisted little girl. What do you think? Juicy enough for you? You feel sick? Sorry about that, chum. I thought you had a strong stomach. I do wonder what Jaren's up to these days. She's still smiling like an idiot, or... Recollections of a Basil's wife. So, I would have preferred if that story had happened somewhere in the actual story, you know. So that we would have... And they wouldn't have to explain this as Jaren. It would be something... just a few snippets here and there. The girl... they kill the girl's parents. And next chapter... They take her with her and she creeps them out. The next chapter, yeah, so on and so on. So it's spread out throughout the game. And then we realize, oh shit, they're actually talking about Jaren, the girl we've been following this entire time. I would have preferred that. I like that shit better. But now let's continue with this. Recollections of our Basil's wife. Good day to you too, sir. Thank you so much for all your hard work. Yes, that's correct. This is where our slaves were when they were stolen, as I described when I reported it. What? The numbers of stolen slaves I gave you doesn't match the number of you heard from the other sources? Ah. No, I had no intention of deceiving you. I simply assumed it wouldn't be a problem because I wasn't claiming we lost them more than we did. Yes, I understand. I beg your pardon. I should have reported that number correctly. I will do so in the future, so please, if you look at the other way just this once. Why did I report fewer slaves that were stolen? I imagine you would find that curious, yes. Why would anyone want less of their lost manpower returned to them, indeed? It's quite simple. I did not think I would be any great loss if she were not to come back. Oh. Oh no, she was a fine worker. And she didn't cause any trouble either. You want to know about the girl? I doubt it will be of any help to your investigation, but I don't mind telling you. I warn you, it's not a terribly pleasant story though. Very well. As you wish, sir. We purchased her when she was about 5 years old, so she's been with us for quite some time. 8, maybe 9 years now. When we bought her, she was still too young to put to work. She was in good health, though, and always had the sweetest smile on her face, so I had little doubt she would do as she was told. Slaves tend to be so gloomy and depressing, you know. Not that I don't understand, but unlike many, we try not to mistreat our slaves. As long as they do their work, they have nothing to worry about. The best slaves, I think, are the ones who aren't so dreary as to infectious and make us feel guilty. The girl's name was Jaren, and while she talked rather funny, she was as bright and cheerful as I had hoped. And she was always smiling from ear to ear. For a while, it felt like we had a brand new member of our family. I was so taken with her, I almost considered adopting her instead of keeping her as a slave. And how did I go from wanting to take her in to not caring if she didn't come back? Rather difficult to explain, to tell you the truth. Yes, that's right, she never caused any trouble. She never stole anything, and she never refused to work. She never cried, and she never got upset, no matter what happened. She always did her work with a smile on her face. That sounds like the ideal slave? Yes, you would think so. And I would have no complaints regarding her work. Neither did my husband, nor our servants. I imagine I'm the only one who would be happy to never see her again. I started thinking the girl peculiar about 2 years after we purchased her. Right around that time, one of our other slaves attempted to run away. Yes, that's right. As I said, we have never once mistreated our slaves. Other slave owners could learn a thing or two from us, I say. We tell our slaves that when we buy them that they will be set free as soon as they worked enough to pay back what we paid for them. Oh, doesn't that mean they just go net zero? So he only had 10 years, and then he would have been free. But he chose to spit in the face of our generosity, and my apologies, I got enough track, haven't I? The slave who ran was captured soon after, but trying to flee is one of the greatest transgressions a slave can commit against his master. As such, it was, as I'm sure you understand, necessary to punish him. But I assure you, we never mistreat. Yes, I'm sorry, I'll continue. So as I said, he had to be punished. My husband took a length of rope and used it as a whip, I think it's called. He called all the slaves to watch as he lashed the one that had tried to run. It was for their own sake. The other slaves needed to see what would happen if they attempted to flee. The lashing continued for a full day. Fuck off, that's a lot of lashing. All the slaves were present and reacted differently. Some averted their eyes, some cried, some looked on trembling, but it was very clear they were afraid, which meant their punishment had served its purpose. For everyone except Jaren, that is. Yes, that's correct, she simply smiled. At first, I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me. But every time I looked over at her, I saw the same thing. As the slave being lashed screamed out in pain, Jaren didn't even flinch. She just stood there, smiling. Just looking at her gave me the chills. My husband thought it's curious as well, but he wasn't nearly as put off as me. She was 7 at the time and a hard worker, and he said there was no issue as long as she didn't cause any trouble. But that completely misses the point, you know. She gave me the creeps. I wasn't comfortable with her around. But of course, my husband has the final say. I couldn't defy him. So I did my best to forget that day. I couldn't get the girl out of my mind though, no matter how hard I tried. My gaze was drawn to Jaren, and I noticed quite a bit as I observed her more carefully. Say one of the slaves hurts himself while working. You might expect another slave to ask if he's alright, to help patch up the wound, to volunteer to take up on his responsibilities for the day, to show concern and compassion. But Jaren, she would just smile and go on her way, not a word. She was hardly perfect either, is anyone though, and she would make mistakes occasionally. Everyone slips up, and we try not to make a huge fuss about it because we sincerely value our slaves and the work they... My apologies. In any case, we can't simply brush such mistakes off, so we make sure to admonish them whenever something happens to ensure things run smoothly. But even as I scold her, Jaren's still smiling. As I'm sure you can imagine, it's hard not to feel as though you're being disrespected. So once I lost my temper and I smacked her. It was only with the once though, I swear. I'm not a violent woman, I hate raising my hand to anyone. I was sure that, if nothing else, would make her cry. But still she smiled, with half her face red and swollen. I was so perplexed that I came straight out and asked her, Why do you not cry? I just hit you, how can you keep smiling? And she said, Why would I cry? I'm not sad about anything. Pressing the issue further, I discovered she had evidently never felt bad for anyone in her life, including herself. Can you imagine? How terrible is that? It's not right. So I decided I needed to teach her how she was supposed to act. I taught her that when she saw someone get hurt, she needed to show sympathy. That when she was being reprimanded, she needed to show remorse and a desire to improve. Jaren listened carefully to every word I said, and before long, she started putting my teachings into practice. At first I was relieved. Jaren was finally a regular girl. She showed a concern, compassion, regret, but it was all an act. She acted sad when someone got hurt, and then she turned around and was smiling again. It never lasted more than a few moments. Emotions were but a flash. There, then gone before you realized. It wasn't normal. It wasn't human. She didn't genuinely feel sympathy. Beyond the surface, she was no different than the girl who smiled as a fellow slave was being whipped before her eyes. Jaren had learned nothing. Unable to bear it anymore, I went to my husband again. I told him she wasn't normal. There was something wrong with her. Implored him to do something. But my pleas fell on deaf ears. She was a good worker, he said. We couldn't ask for a better slave, he said. Oh, but he couldn't have been any more wrong. He wasn't the one who had to look after her. He had no idea what she was like, how unsettling it was being merely being in her presence, how deeply upsetting it was. My apologies. I'm fine now. As you can imagine, I'm not particularly fond of Jaren. So, it wasn't a weight off my shoulders when I heard she was one of the stolen slaves. Why are you giving me that look? You think I'm the one who has the problem? You think there's nothing wrong with her, just like my husband? One look at her smile and you know I'm telling the truth, that she is not simply a little eccentric, that there's more to it than that. I never saw that though, and that comes down to not very good writing. I can't take it anymore. Is there no one who will understand me? Recollections of a prostitute. Kick back for a bit, why don't you? I'm in a mood to talk. Nah, I'm not gonna charge extra. I don't bill it by the hour. Oh, you never thought of me as a talkative girl? I guess that just goes to show how much I've taken to you. No, I'm not trying to butter you up, I swear. I've been thinking a lot these days about the place I last worked at, and it's really been getting me down. I can't think of anyone I want with me at the times like this more than you. Did something happen there? I've been waiting for that question. It's a bit of a long story. I hope you don't mind. It's a city about 10 days by carriage from here. You know the one. Right at Lord Barney's doorstep. The place I used to work was there, and every so often, the Lord would summon a few of the prettiest girls to come to his manor. I'm hardly the best looking girl around, even out here, so I was never one of the chosen. But honestly, I'm lucky for it. It's not the kind of thing you want to go mentioning in public, but the Lord has some unsavory hobbies. Every girl who ever came back said there's no amount of money you can pay me to do that again. Word is, the Lord has a taste for torturing and killing his slaves. Not just if you screw up either. If he's in a mood and he so much as sees you, you could be dead. He's got a dungeon under his manor too, they say, and you can hear wailing coming from down there at all times of the day. The Lord enjoys all different kinds of torture. Flaying, dismemberment, boiling, the water cure. I'm sure he uses others, but I've only heard bits and pieces secondhand. He only ever killed the slaves though. The girls all came back in one piece. He only ever killed the slaves though. The girls all came back in one piece. On the outside at least. Being forced to watch people get brutally murdered did a real number on most of them. Some were so broken by the experience they couldn't work anymore. So the Lord. Apparently he hosts banquets at his manor every so often. But here's the kicker. He only invites nobles that are into the same sort of thing. It's not the only one. We're being governed by a god knows how many twisted freaks. I don't even want to think about it. Anyway, something like 2 years ago, I think it was. A couple girls came back looking a good 20 years older, and they told us all about one of these banquets. Most of the time, it's just him and his noble friends torturing slaves, but this one was different. There was a girl, maybe 10 years old, chained up and naked on his makeshift altar, but here's where it gets crazy. The girl, who they called a saint, was covered in scars, head to toe. They cut her up and filled the cups with her fresh blood. But she didn't cry, she didn't even flinch, she just sat there quietly. And when she did speak, it was to condemn them as blasphemers and sinners. Can you imagine? Chained up like that and she's scolding her captors, telling them God would punish them for their actions. I wouldn't have the guts. Maybe she was raised in a church or something. But I'm guessing that's got something to do with why they called her a saint. Oh yeah, the slave revolt was right around that time too. You hear about that? Just rumors? Well, they're not just rumors, it really happened. Because of the revolt, the girl who'd been there made it out in the mostly decent shape. And for a while afterward, the Lord didn't send for anyone. I'm guessing he was too preoccupied patching up the holes in his manor and finances to spend much time fooling around. Sort of changing topics for a sec, but about the same time, this dark-skinned girl, the kind you don't see too often around these parts, started working here. Name was Jaren. She was pretty, always had the widest smile on her face, and real friendly. Seemed like the kind of girl who would draw in a lot of business. And I was right. Within a couple of weeks, she had already picked up a few regulars, and our manager was going on about how happy he was with his purchase. This is before... wait. And our manager? Who the fuck... because this is not Maria's brothel. Is this the one she worked at before? About a month in, though, we started getting complaints from one of her customers. He said she was being condescending with him. I brought it up with Jaren, but she said she had no idea what he was talking about. So I assumed the customer was just imagining it, or full of it. You get guys like that all the time in this business. No, don't worry, you're not one of them. But the complaints kept coming in, which made me think maybe there was something going on. So I decided to talk things out with the guys making the complaints this time, get a bigger picture of what the problem was. Most of them were pretty useless and vague, but the common issue seemed to be that her behavior didn't make sense. One guy came in after bungling a huge trade deal, hoping to find some comfort, and he spilled his guts to Jaren. But instead of trying to console him, she laughed. You can see why you wouldn't be thrilled about that. When I asked Jaren about it, she gave me a confused look and said, I thought he was telling a funny joke. There was no malice, nothing. She genuinely didn't understand how the customers wanted her to act. Can't run a business like this without a solid customer base, so making sure everyone leaves happy is crucial to operation. Which is probably not something I should be talking about with a customer, but, well, you're special, so cut me some slack, okay? Anyway, something had to be done about Jaren. We couldn't risk more dissatisfied customers. So I figured the best thing to do was give her some training. Here's how you should react if client brings up such and such, and here's what you should say if you're looking depressed or upset or whatever. How and when to be reactive and how and when to be proactive. Jaren was a quick study, so it wasn't long before she was putting my lessons to work. I would have been happy with just reducing the numbers of complaints to a more normal level, but Jaren improved so dramatically we heard nothing but praise from her then on. Say a patron was looking a little blue, she'd give them a big pouty face and say, What's the matter? You can tell me anything. Oh no, that's terrible, I feel awful for you. Is there anything I can do to help? Anything at all? Just this constant stream of comfort, almost to the point of being excessive. She had gone from bright and energetic to sweet and sympathetic as well. On the surface, anyway. Every condolence she offered was completely fake. She was acting, and I knew, because I was the one who had taught her how. There was nothing wrong with that, though. We're not in the business of genuine human interaction, after all. Thinking back on it now, though, I probably should have taught her what the real thing felt like, rather than just how to fake it. About a year later, the Lord started sending them for girls again. We all knew he was a madman, that was common knowledge. But he paid well, and everyone always came back alive. So we reluctantly complied. And this is how Jaren gets to know him. But we were wrong. He did kill the girls this time. One came back alive, but she was missing an eye and half an arm. She was in no condition to go back to work. Even just going about her daily life would be difficult. We were aghast. But things only got worse from there. The next time the Lord sent for us, we panicked. For one, no amount of money was worth what waited at the Lord's manor. And two, it was impossible to run a business if your employees kept getting killed. So we attempted to turn him away. But this messenger simply said, The Lord will not take a no for an answer. We either complied or were all executed for treason. What little hope we had left crumbled. We were screwed either way. So we fought amongst ourselves like a pack of wild animals. I'm too ugly, you go. I am more regulars, you go. No one likes you anyway. Pure chaos. I was, of course, part of the brawl. And here's where she comes in. Jaren. Everyone's in a big mob, clawing each other's faces off, and she just tilts her head and asks, Why are you so afraid of the Lord? Seeing the stupid, clueless look on her face, just about everyone in the room burst a vessel. Alright, we'll send her, we said, and it was decided. Jaren smiled, not bothered in the slightest, gave us a cheery, see you later, and went off to the Lord's manor. To no one's surprise, she never came back. We figured she had been killed. A week or so later, the messenger showed up again asking for more girls. By this point, the manager was furious. He demanded to speak with the Lord in person, saying if something wasn't done, the whole brothel would collapse, and he'd put his life on the line to prevent that. Seeing him so resolute, I felt a newfound respect for him. I also thought he was a complete idiot, but I still respected him. After all, there was no way the Lord would be open to negotiation. That much was obvious from everything he'd done. The manager and a few assistants set off for the Lord's manor, and about 2 weeks later he returned. Or his head did. His assistants managed to avoid death, so they were able to tell us what had happened. No one was exactly thrilled to hear more twisted tales about the Lord. But we listened anyway, and no one could have imagined what they told us. Jaren was there, with the Lord, alive and well. Not only had she not been killed, he had apparently taken quite a liking to her. The manager was surprised to see her too, but he figured it was as good a chance as he would ever get. If Jaren would speak up in his favor, the Lord might actually listen to her. So, emboldened, the manager pled with the Lord, begging him not to harm the girls, that we wouldn't be able to send anyone else otherwise. And for attempting to oppose him, the Lord ordered the manager be executed. The manager, however, entreated Jaren for help. If you have a heart, Jaren, please tell the Lord not to take my life. I have people who need me. Without hesitation, Jaren nodded, saying, I think you could maybe let him live. It seemed a bit, I don't know, disrespectful for a whore to speak to the Lord like that, but he didn't get upset with her or anything. He really had taken a liking to her, apparently. The Lord nodded and said, I'll offer you a choice then. Jaren, you may have whichever one of the following you prefer. Either spare this man's life, or you can have my full attention for the rest of the day. The manager and his assistants were all baffled. How was that even a decision? How was a man's life, a man who had employed her for more than a year, no less, comparable to a little attention? But they were even more baffled by Jaren's reaction. She thought about it for a second, and then blushing, she said, I want your attention. Everyone's jaws dropped. The manager about burst into tears. He begged her to reconsider, to have pity. He asked what he had ever done to wrong her. You never did me wrong, she said. Then why don't you have him spare me? I just want his attention more. And you're willing to let me die for that? What's so scary about dying anyway? Not only did she not comprehend sorrow, she seemed to be devoid of anything resembling fear as well. Which explained why she had so much trouble sympathizing with people suffering, why she was always smiling no matter how bad things got. Without our manager, the brothel went to hell. His son took over, but he didn't give a damn about any of the girls. All he cared about was if he had enough booze to keep himself perpetually smashed. So, figuring I had a better chance elsewhere, I left everything behind and ran, leaving my future in fate's hands. Fate was kind to me, and I managed to make it here. They come to me in my dreams sometimes, though. I still see the faces of the poor girls we sent off to the gallows. Oh, we're getting some actual dialogue here. What? Where am I again? Awake again, are you, whore? Ah! You're you, sir? It would seem your memories have not fully recovered. Allow me to remind you how you got here, then. No, wait. It's right on the tip of my brain. Let's see. I was at the brothel, and then I was invited to the Lord's place. I got brought to a big city. Then I was taken to the Lord's castle. The Lord called me into his room. And then you strangled me. Indeed. Your memory has returned without problem. I'm super duper good at remembering things. Wait! Why did you strangle me? To test my theory. Your theory? Of what? That you're mad. Mad? About what? Not that kind of mad. First of all, I never bring just one horse to my quarters. I brought you here because you piqued my personal curiosity. You mean you're having orgies in here every day? Wowzers, you got some serious stamina. Not being alone with one person reduces the chances of an assassination attempt. Ah, that makes sense. It's pretty tough being the Lord, huh? So, what are you so curious about little old me for? The other day, you and a handful of other whores attended the torturing of a slave, if you recall. I made you all watch as he died. But you didn't seem affected in the slightest. Ah. Crap, I'm so sorry. For what? I wasn't sad enough, was I? The nice farm lady and the girl at the brothel taught me how to be sad and how to be angry. But if I'm not careful, I forget. I'm sorry for not being sad like I was supposed to. As I said, you piqued my interest. Oh, had you sobbed and screamed like any other whore, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Well, so me not being sad wasn't bad? That it wasn't. Huh. No one's ever said that to me before. I always thought you unusual, but I couldn't be certain about what you were without getting more personal. Which is why I brought you here to test that theory. You don't fear death, do you, whore? It's not just death. I've never felt sad or scared about anything ever. Ever. I didn't even know sad or scared were things people felt at all until someone told me. But now I know all about them, and how you're supposed to act when you feel them. I just don't know what they actually are. Truly fascinating. Tell me more. Huh? What do you want to know? Let's see. Tell me your whole life story. Tell me everything, as far back as you remember. Wow. No one's ever been interested in me. This is super nice. Alright then, I'll tell you everything. Don't hesitate to conk out if you get bored. And ta-da! Here I am. What do you think? As boring as I thought it'd be? Hardly. That was easily the most engrossing childhood story I've ever heard. Woohoo! Smiling as your parents are killed before your eyes. I'm hardly one to talk, but you're one thoroughly heartless girl. I still wish I could do that over. I really love my mom and dad, and the nice farm lady taught me you're supposed to be sad when people you love die. That's why you want a do-over? What? You're incapable of experiencing sorrow, no? Feigning it for the occasion won't change the fact you do not actually feel sad about losing them. I guess you're right. I can pretend, but I still don't know what it feels like. I don't understand why people are so afraid of death to begin with. I mean, pain isn't fun, I get that much. But if you don't let it bother you, it's not that big of a deal. Plus, once you die, you get to go to heaven. So I don't get what there is to be afraid of. Not everyone goes to heaven. Oh, that's right. But still, I'm sure there are plenty of fun things to do in hell. Fascinating. You truly are twisted to your very soul. But I do sometimes feel disappointed. Do tell. Like, I sometimes wish I could eat my mom's supper again. And I feel left out when everyone's talking about how weird I am. Maybe sad is just like an even stronger version of that. I get the impression your entire experience on negative emotion is fundamentally disordered. So I don't know if you can say that. Jaren? Hi? Would you like to remain with me? What? Normally I send horses back to where they came from when I'm done with them. But I'm offering you the chance to stay here with me. Are you? Asking for my hand in marriage? What do I do? What do I do? I went from a whore to the Lord's wife in 3 seconds flat. Fool. I would never even take a mere prostitute as a concubine. The rat. I am, however, fond of you, so I am offering you a place in my house. So you're saying you actually want me around? Even knowing what kind of person I really am? You could say that, yes. Wow, no one's ever actually wanted me before. As promised, Jaren, you have my full attention for the rest of the day. Whee! Honestly, it shouldn't surprise me anymore how twisted you are. Twisted so far, in fact, you're the most sincere and honest person in the land. To a fault. You hardly even gave that man's life a second thought. The look on his face as he died was magnificent. You are a cruel girl. I didn't do anything wrong, no matter what you say. I didn't steal anything. I didn't kill anyone. I try to stay out of everyone's way as much as possible. So you actually have some concept of right and wrong. Which means you understand that I am a wicked man. I was taught the difference, yes. Fascinating. However, simply knowing the difference is of no use if you don't feel the repulsion it's supposed to elicit. Knowing full well that I was acting maliciously, still you selfishly chose my affection, sentencing that man to death. That's not what No, I guess you're right. I guess I did let him die for my own selfish desires. Looks like I still got a lot to learn. No, you say exactly the way you are. As I've said before, you don't need to put up a facade around me. Don't act sad if you're not sad. Don't act angry if you're not angry. Don't feign pity for someone you don't care about. Be you. But everyone says your natural self neither disgusts nor disturbs me. In fact, I greatly prefer you that way. No matter how many slaves I kill and torture for my own entertainment, you never leave my side. You happily accept me no matter what I do. I would rather not lose that. Don't stand so far away. Sit down beside me. I have allowed you to stay here for a month now, and in that time, you've been a constant source of entertainment. And you've experienced no desire to leave either, despite being well aware of what kind of a man I am. The same goes for you, Bonnie. You want me to stay even though I'm such a weirdo. The difference between you and I, though, is that I kill and you do not. You know, I've been wondering. What? Why do you like killing so much? I would seem your perception of me is slightly inaccurate. It's not the act of killing I enjoy, but the look of dread and despair on a man's face as his life is ripped away. There's a difference? In your mind, perhaps not. I'd kinda like to know what it's like in your mind then. I told you my story. Maybe you could tell me more about you, Barney. Not that I blame you if you didn't want to tell a prostitute like me. You're not a prostitute anymore. I'm not? Then what am I? You're my property. Ooh, that sounds super nice. So, to answer your question, I was not always the man I am today. I had several brothers, though I was the eldest. As such, I was the first in the line of succession. There should have been no question as to who was the rightful heir to the house. But my father, the previous lord, wanted my brothers to succeed him instead. Without any reason to pass over me, though, he would have faced insignificant opposition and put the family reputation and legitimacy at risk. I was neither infirm nor mentally challenged, but rather extremely talented, which gave my father no leverage to deny me the throne. The one thing I lacked was sycophancy. Seeing people try to butter each other up made me physically sick. It seemed to me like the last kind of behavior royalty should be engaging in. I believe that merely possessing leadership ability should be sufficient for ruling effectively. But in this world, only those who can win others' favor makes it anywhere. Only those who can make themselves look good and their peers like fools. Those who can claim others' achievements as their own, who can appear to have more power than they actually do. My father and brothers forsook me, making an attempt on my life. Because they could not legitimately remove me as their rightful heir, they could only kill me if they wanted their way. I was fortunate enough to survive the attempt, but I still carry the scar today. You mean the big one on your back? That's right. You're surprisingly observant. I was in danger of just not losing the lordship, but my life. I was left with 3 choices. To let them kill me, to flee and live in poverty, or to kill them first. I was born to rule though, so in reality I only ever had one choice. I murdered my father and all my brothers, leaving me as the only one in the line of succession. But becoming the lord did not immediately win me everyone's favor. Distant relatives crawled out of the woodwork to claim my throne as rightfully theirs. The people demanded I satisfy their every whim and fancy. And even my attendants tried to push their own agendas. The whole affair quickly grew tiring. Dozens were clamoring for a say in matter I could easily handle myself. So I silenced them. Before long, the prodding voices had become corpses. And it was somewhere around that time I found myself intrigued by fear. Fear is a wonderful thing, an incredibly effective silencer that spreads like a plague. Sufficient application would preemptively stop everyone from interfering. Fiercest man of all his will. When it became apparent to me that one did not have to be great leader to rule effectively, all the time I had spent in my younger days working to improve myself felt like an incredible waste. Fear became the centerpiece of my rule, and as I continued to employ it, I began to derive great pleasure from the despair it instilled in others. My men trembled at the sight of me. They bowed their heads and abandoned their dignity. They begged me to spare their lives. And what an exquisite sight it was, every single time. Enrapturing. You were born into your madness, Sharon, but I was molded into mine. Huh, that's neat. But, Lord Barney, wouldn't that make me a bad match for you? I'm not scared of you at all. Man is a curious beast, you see. Once everyone's feared me, I then came to seek those who did not. You sure are hard to please. You make it sound like I'm merely a picky child. Though I suppose there's little difference in your eyes. There were a number of others among the nobles who had, like me, strayed from the path, out of surprise, given them what life as a noble is like. So I started throwing banquets, inviting those who would be interested. These parties were to serve two purposes. The first, obviously, being for my own amusement. The second, to find those with similar tastes and bring them into my circle. I found little success with the latter, however, despite my rather zealous attempts at recruitment, so I no longer wasted the effort. You weren't able to make any friends then? No, I was not. The other nobles had no interest in getting their hands dirty. They only wanted to watch, getting their titillation from a safe distance. Not a single one shared the same madness as me. Sharon. Ah? You are far better than any of them. What? Thanks? What are you squirming about? I thought nothing bothered you. I am capable of getting flustered, thank you. There is something deeply wrong with you. You're the one who decided to throw that curveball, Lord Barney. Enough with the formalities already. You're not a whore anymore. You're allowed to use my name. That is your name, though. You don't know your own lord's full name, do you, Sharon? What? Answer the question, girl. I'm sorry. Allow me to help. I will only say this once, so don't forget it. My name is Jean-Francois Barney, firstborn son of the rightful heir of the Barney family. Got it memorized. That's a really long name, though. I think I'll call you Franny. That rolls off the tongue nicer. I assume I can take that cryptic chuckle lesson, okay? Only if you wish to be hanged. Call me Francois. Actually, this is where we're going to cut off for today's video. This was way longer. I should have cut off already when we were starting to interact with Barney and Jaren. But yeah, I like this part. I would have liked for this to have been incorporated in Jacopo's part of the story. Not something that happens afterwards. It's a means to justify things. No, I would have liked for this to have happened at the same time. But this is good. I like this. But yeah, that will be it for today's video. So thank you guys for watching, and an extra thank you to all the members of this channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next one. Goodbye, everyone.